If you're in a relationship or even just dating, you might have encountered someone who seems too good to be true, or worse, someone who feels like a constant source of stress and negativity. But how can you tell if a woman has a dark side that's toxic for your life? Today, we'll talk about 7 evident signs that there may be an evil woman right next to you. These signs can help you spot a dangerous individual before it's too late. One of the most prominent signs that a woman may have evil intentions is her ability to manipulate emotions. Emotional manipulation is a subtle, yet highly destructive form of control, often used to dominate and control the emotions of the person she's targeting. It can begin with small acts, like making you feel guilty for things that are not your fault, or playing on your deepest fears and insecurities to get you to do what she wants. Over time, it escalates, and you may find yourself constantly second-guessing your feelings or actions, wondering if you're doing something wrong or if you're being unreasonable. At first, you may not even realize that it's happening because she may present herself as being overly sweet, caring, and understanding. She might tell you she's doing things for your own good, that she's just looking out for you. But the reality is, these actions are calculated to make you feel dependent on her, to make you feel like you need her approval or validation for everything you do. The more you rely on her emotionally, the more control she gains over your actions and decisions. This type of emotional manipulation often involves a mix of guilt, shame, and fear. She may accuse you of being selfish if you want to do something for yourself, or make you feel bad for needing time away from her. The goal is always to make you feel like you owe her something, even when you've done nothing wrong. Over time, you may start noticing that your emotional responses to her become more erratic. You'll feel anxious or stressed when you're around her, and you'll find yourself apologizing for things you never needed to apologize for in the first place. She might even create situations that require you to constantly reassure her or make her feel special, all the while draining your emotional energy. And if you ever try to assert your own needs, she will likely turn it back on you, making you feel guilty or questioning your own worth. The key here is the constant emotional imbalance. She keeps you on an emotional roller coaster, making you feel that everything is either all your fault or all her fault, but never allowing you to have a stable, healthy emotional space. The real danger is that over time you start to believe that you need her emotional validation to feel okay about yourself, and this is exactly what she wants: complete emotional control. Another major red flag is when a woman's words don't align with her actions. This is a behavior that can initially be difficult to spot, especially when someone is skilled at pretending to be one thing on the surface but acting entirely differently behind closed doors. It's not uncommon for someone with malicious intent to say exactly what you want to hear, only to act in a way that contradicts everything they just claimed. At first, these inconsistencies might seem like misunderstandings or mistakes. Maybe she promises to be there for you, but when you actually need her, she's nowhere to be found. Or she might tell you how much she cares about your relationship, only to act dismissive or cold when you try to engage emotionally. These kinds of contradictions create a confusing environment where you feel uncertain and start questioning your own judgment. The more often this happens, the harder it becomes to trust anything she says. The danger of this behavior is that it erodes your trust, and without trust, a relationship becomes unstable. She might tell you she loves you and wants to build a future together, but her actions might show that she's not committed to anything serious. She may be emotionally unavailable, dismissive of your needs, or even going behind your back to engage in behaviors that contradict the values she claims to have. This pattern of behavior might not be limited to just romantic relationships. It can spill over into any aspect of her life. She might present herself as someone who values honesty and integrity, but will lie effortlessly to get what she wants. This type of deception doesn't just happen once in a while. It becomes a constant feature of her behavior, creating an environment where you are always second, guessing her true intentions. This can make you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, unsure of which version of her is real. Eventually, you start to wonder if she is even aware of her own contradictions, or if she's simply manipulating you and others by saying whatever serves her purpose at the moment. The emotional toll of dealing with someone who is so disingenuous is immense because it forces you into a cycle of confusion and self-doubt, questioning your ability to trust not only her but your own perception of reality. When a woman continually disrespects your boundaries, it is a clear and troubling sign that her intentions may not be good. Boundaries are the invisible lines that help define what is acceptable and what isn't in a relationship. They are meant to protect both parties, ensuring that each person's needs, feelings, and values are respected. When someone disregards your boundaries, it signals a lack of respect for you as an individual. This can happen in many ways, from the seemingly innocent, such as pushing you to do something you're uncomfortable with, to much more serious violations, like disregarding your need for privacy or emotional space. At first, it might seem like minor inconveniences or occasional misunderstandings, but as this pattern continues, it becomes clear that it is intentional. She may pressure you into doing things you don't want to do, whether it's emotionally, physically, or socially, always making you feel like you owe her something or that you're unreasonable for setting a limit. For example, she might constantly demand your time, even when you've expressed a need for personal space or downtime. She may guilt-trip you into saying yes to things that are against your values, making you feel selfish or wrong for needing boundaries. The more this happens, the more you might start questioning whether your own boundaries are too strict, or if you're just being difficult, even though deep down, you know that your needs are completely valid. This behavior can become even more toxic over time. An evil woman might not only ignore your boundaries, but also manipulate situations where you're forced into uncomfortable positions. She may use your good nature against you, knowing that you'll hesitate to say no out of fear of confrontation or upsetting her. She might use passive-aggressive tactics to make you feel guilty for wanting to take a step back, playing the victim, or accusing you of not caring about her. This kind of behavior leaves you in a constant state of discomfort and emotional exhaustion, because you're always negotiating your boundaries rather than protecting them. Eventually, when you realize that every time you assert your boundaries, she responds with resistance or manipulation, it becomes clear that she is testing how far she can push you. If you don't recognize this as a red flag, you risk allowing her to erode your sense of self-worth and weaken your ability to stand up for your needs. What she's doing is not only disrespectful, but also controlling. She wants to make you feel as though your limits are irrelevant and that you exist to serve her needs regardless of cost to your well-being. This creates an unhealthy dynamic where your personal growth, mental peace, and emotional stability are continually sacrificed for her convenience. A woman who thrives on creating chaos in your life is often one of the most dangerous types of individuals you can encounter. This isn't just about having occasional disagreements or conflicts, which are natural in any relationship, but rather about consistently stirring up unnecessary drama and instability. An evil woman intentionally seeks out moments of tension, sometimes creating problems where none exist or escalating minor issues into major conflicts. She may do this to maintain control over you or to keep you distracted and emotionally invested in something negative, so you aren't paying attention to the bigger picture. For example, she might start arguments over trivial things, pushing you into a corner where you're constantly defending yourself or apologizing for things you didn't even do. These arguments are rarely about resolving a misunderstanding, but about creating a power struggle that keeps you emotionally engaged. Her goal is not to work through issues, but to keep the tension high, so that you are always on edge, unsure of what might set her off next. This kind of emotional turbulence becomes exhausting, draining your energy and attention from more important aspects of your life, like your career, hobbies, or relationships with others. This chaotic behavior may also manifest in the way she interacts with people outside of your relationship. She could create friction between you and your friends, family, or colleagues, perhaps making passive-aggressive comments that sow seeds of doubt about your character or intentions. By doing this, she isolates you from your support system, leaving you more dependent on her for emotional validation. The more you get pulled into these disputes, the more difficult it becomes to see that she is the one fueling the conflict, not you. She might make you feel as though you are the problem, even though the pattern of constant chaos originates from her. Her need to create drama may go beyond mere manipulation and into a deeper, more deliberate need to disrupt your peace and stability. She may enjoy seeing you react to her provocations, almost as if she's feeding off the emotional energy that these chaotic situations generate. By keeping you in this constant state of anxiety and turmoil, she ensures that you are never able to find a sense of calm or balance in your life. This relentless instability can have long-term effects on your mental health, leaving you feeling like you're walking on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid triggering the next argument or problem she will manufacture. As this chaos continues, you may also notice that any attempt you make to bring up her role in the drama is dismissed or turned against you. She may use gaslighting tactics, making you question your perception of events, or accusing you of being too sensitive or paranoid. In these moments, you might begin to doubt your ability to understand what is really happening, further trapping you in the cycle of emotional manipulation and control. Her ability to twist reality and make you feel guilty for wanting peace only strengthens her power in the relationship, leaving you more vulnerable to her toxic influence. Jealousy and possessiveness can be a natural response in a relationship, but when taken to extremes, they become toxic behaviors that can destroy trust and personal boundaries. A woman who exhibits extreme jealousy and possessiveness is not just displaying concern or care. She is revealing deep insecurity and a need for control. This type of behavior is rooted in fear, fear of losing you, fear of being replaced, or fear of not being enough. However, these fears often stem from her own emotional issues, such as low self-esteem or a lack of self-worth. Her jealousy is less about love and more about control, using possessiveness as a way to keep you tied to her emotionally, often at the expense of your freedom and individuality. In a relationship with a woman who is excessively jealous, you may start to notice that your every move is scrutinized. You might feel like you're constantly being watched, or that you're walking on eggshells around her. She could become suspicious if you even glance at another woman, whether it's a passing look or a simple compliment. These actions might seem harmless or even flattering at first, but they quickly escalate into controlling behaviors. She may question you relentlessly about your interactions with others, accusing you of things you didn't do or making you feel guilty for being friendly or social. Her jealousy might extend to even innocent relationships like those with your friends or family, where she tries to sow doubt or discredit those relationships to keep you isolated. As her possessiveness grows, you might find that she begins to restrict your social life. You could notice her trying to control who you spend time with, whether it's discouraging you from hanging out with certain friends or subtly pulling you away from family gatherings. If you attempt to assert your need for space or independence, she may use guilt or manipulation to make you feel as though you're abandoning her or don't care enough about the relationship. This possessive behavior is often masked as love, with her claiming that it's because she cares so much about you, or that she can't stand the thought of losing you. However, these words are just a mask for the underlying truth. She's trying to control you and your interactions with the outside world. The constant need for validation and attention can also be a significant aspect of her jealousy. She may demand constant reassurance of your love and loyalty, requiring you to prove your devotion at all times. If you don't meet her expectations, she could become distant or emotionally manipulative, making you feel as though you are failing her in some way. Her possessiveness can also turn into emotional blackmail, where she withholds affection, support, or even basic kindness until you meet her emotional demands. This creates an unhealthy dynamic in which you are constantly trying to appease her, only to find that no matter what you do, it's never enough. The most dangerous part of this behavior is that it can escalate into controlling and abusive actions. A woman who is excessively jealous might begin tracking your movements, going through your phone, reading your messages, or even monitoring your social media activity. She might become angry or hostile when you assert your independence or engage in activities outside of her control. At times, she may try to manipulate the people around you to reinforce her position, making you feel isolated from those who could offer support or a healthy perspective. Over time, you might feel trapped in the relationship, unable to breathe freely or express yourself without fear of her reactions. Her jealousy and possessiveness don't reflect love or affection. They are symptoms of a need for control and dominance, and they can create an emotionally stifling environment where your sense of self is slowly chipped away. A significant warning sign that you might be dealing with an evil woman is when she shows a complete lack of empathy or guilt for her actions. Empathy is one of the most fundamental aspects of human connection. It's what allows us to understand and relate to the feelings of others. It's the reason why we care when someone is hurt, why we apologize when we've done something wrong, and why we make an effort to avoid causing pain. However, an individual with malicious intent often lacks this critical trait, making them capable of inflicting harm without any concern for the emotional consequences. When she hurts you or others, she won't feel bad, and she certainly won't take responsibility for her actions. Instead, she may turn the situation around, placing blame squarely on you and leaving you questioning your own behavior. This lack of empathy can manifest in several ways. For one, she might dismiss your emotions outright. If you're hurt or upset by something she's done, instead of offering an apology or acknowledging your pain, she might belittle your feelings or accuse you of being overly emotional or dramatic. This is a tactic to deflect from her own wrongdoings, making you feel guilty for having a natural emotional reaction. If you find yourself constantly invalidating your own emotions or constantly apologizing for things that are completely out of your control, it may be because she has conditioned you to question your own feelings. Even more concerning is when she exhibits no remorse after causing harm, whether it's emotional, mental, or physical. She might say or do things that deeply hurt you, and when confronted about it, she might show indifference, offer a shallow apology, or make excuses. This lack of remorse can be devastating, especially when it's someone close to you. The longer this behavior goes unchecked, the more it can erode your sense of self-worth, as you begin to internalize the idea that your pain doesn't matter or that you're somehow responsible for it. The inability to feel guilt or empathy often goes hand in hand with a narcissistic or sociopathic personality. These individuals are so consumed with their own desires and needs that they cannot fathom the emotional impact their actions may have on others. If she consistently disregards how you feel or acts as though her own needs are always more important than yours, it's a clear indication that her emotional world revolves around herself, and everyone else is merely a tool for her to use. She might exploit your kindness or vulnerabilities without a second thought, only to leave you feeling emotionally drained and used. It's also important to recognize that her lack of empathy extends beyond just you. If you witness her treating others poorly, whether it's strangers, friends, family, or even pets, without any regard for their feelings, it further confirms that her inability to empathize is not limited to you alone. She may engage in harmful behaviors such as gossiping maliciously about others, belittling people who are weaker or more vulnerable than her, or displaying cruelty in situations where compassion would be the appropriate response. Her actions reveal that she is more interested in her own comfort, power, and control than in fostering any kind of meaningful, caring relationships. As time goes on, this pattern of emotional neglect and indifference can take a serious toll on your mental health. When you are constantly met with someone who shows no remorse or care for your well-being, it can lead to feelings of isolation and confusion. You may begin to question if you're the one who's at fault, or if your expectations of basic human decency are too high. This mental toll is a deliberate outcome of her behavior as she works to undermine your confidence and make you believe that her lack of empathy is normal or justified. The longer this continues, the harder it becomes to see the relationship for what it truly is, an emotionally toxic dynamic designed to keep you feeling small and powerless. If you find yourself in a relationship with a woman who exhibits these behaviors, it's crucial to recognize the red flags early and take them seriously. A lack of empathy, constant manipulation, a disregard for boundaries, and emotional or psychological abuse are never signs of a healthy relationship. No one deserves to live in an environment where their emotions are constantly tested, manipulated, or disregarded. It's important to trust your instincts and set boundaries that protect your mental and emotional well-being. Remember, a healthy relationship is built on mutual respect, trust, and support. If you're dealing with someone who continuously violates those principles, it might be time to reevaluate the relationship and consider your options for moving forward. Protecting yourself from toxicity and emotional harm is not just about survival. It's about creating space for growth, peace, and happiness. Always prioritize your emotional health, and don't let anyone make you feel less than deserving of love and respect.